Picture this. You're sitting with your friends, other moms who have gone through a divorce or are contemplating, who maybe didn't picture their lives co-parenting, but are there with you. You're sharing your stories, you're inspiring each other, validating and challenging each other through your shared experiences. You're belly laughing, tearing up, and enjoying your favorite cup of coffee all at the same time. You don't judge each other, you empower each other to continue on your journey, to heal, and to just be you, whatever that looks like. Welcome to Co-Parenting and Coffee. Thank you for joining us. We are both co-parenting and are excited to have you as part of our journey. Hello. Oh, yeah. We're back and is so excited about this episode. Jill.
This topic is like chef's kiss. Like, I hear about this type of thing and experience this type of thing so much. So I feel like it's going to just be really helpful.
Yeah, so we're going to talk with Dr. Ashley Southard, who's an expert on the overfunctioning partner. And I think this is going to resonate for a lot of people. I also think it's important to not only pay attention to that so that you're not burning yourself out, but also it's over functioning is a contribution to your relationship. And
for sure.
I definitely see in this conversation, I see shades of what I'll call my former self, right? The me in my marriage, and how I contributed to the dynamic that ultimately led to us ending it. And while I don't feel like it was the thing, I think that I guess I'll just say that I'm not sure the marriage would have lasted as long if I had put my foot down sooner, right? So all that said, I have two beautiful children, so I'm grateful for that. But I am committed to not letting myself fall into that trap again.
Recognizing it and using that information moving forward is like so important because
Yes.
you can't change the past, but you can learn from it.
Learn from it. Exactly. I think that too, some of this comes with the conditioning and teaching of us as girls and teaching of boys growing up in sort of this phenomenon that we're experiencing, which we'll talk about on the other end.
Yes, absolutely.
How you doing, Jill? It's spring.
Oh, it's spring finally. I just love sunlight. Like, give me the sunlight. Give me a couple warm days at least, which I
Feel the
think.
warmth of the sun.
Yeah, it's only crappy weather. It's only been crappy weather on the weekends, so but we'll take what we can get right now. It's like going in the right direction. That's what I keep.
Everything's going to be green.
Yeah. Yeah. No, things are good.
Good.
Things are good. Should we do our quote?
I think we should.
Okay. It says, but so are healthy boundaries. I strive to be good, treating others well, while also honoring my own needs and values. And that quote is from Vex King.
Love that.
I love it too. I think, it just like reminds me of like people pleasing, which I am definitely a people pleaser, and like feeling like when you put those boundaries up that you're being mean. And
well, people who enjoy you not having the boundaries will think you're being mean, right? But holding your boundaries is standing up for you, and that's something I have had to learn. The more you do it, the more confident you're going to feel in yourself,
right?
And the happier you're going to be because your convictions are going to be stronger. You're not going to be afraid. I think that sometimes the lack of boundaries comes from a fear of abandonment or rejection or. I'm not an expert on attachment theories, but that, feeling like a situation is conditional. If I don't do this, this person's going to leave me. This person's going to stop being my friend. This person's not going to love me.
Right. So true. Yeah.
So it's a practice.
And usually, yeah, it's a practice. And I think I remember one of my friends being like, you think that's like really mean, but like in actuality, it's like not. And people that love you and care about you will respect your boundaries and say like, okay, well, I won't do that. I'm sorry that I like pushed that boundary. I didn't know or whatever, or just respect it, not be like against you having a boundary.
It's kind of like doing yourself a favor because it's going to help you understand, to your point, who are the people in your life who care enough about you to respect your boundaries and who are the people in your life who are just going to keep taking as much as you're willing to give.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, you are right.
With that in mind, should we move on to our coffee date?
Yes, let's talk to Ashley.
All right, everybody. We'll see you on the other side. Bye.
Hello.
We
Hi,
are
Ashley.
so excited and delighted to introduce you all to Dr. Ashley Southard. Is it Southard or Southard?
Southard.
Dr. Ashley Southard. I discovered you, Ashley, on Instagram and your really amazing content that has to do with the overfunctioning woman. And so, would you be able to introduce yourself and talk a little bit about what that means?
Sure. Yeah, thank you so much for having me on your show today. So, my name is Dr. Ashley Southard. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist in the state of Arizona. So, professionally, I have been practicing for over 22 years, and I specialize in the treatment of trauma and relationships. And I work with a lot of women and couples who are struggling with this dynamic of overfunctioning and underfunctioning. I also have a very personal story that folds into this expertise as well. I used to be an overfunctioning woman myself, so part of what I write about on Instagram comes from that very personal place of knowing what it feels like to be in the emotional throes of this really confusing and frustrating dynamic in your love relationship. So, in a nutshell, overfunctioning from my perspective is taking on the bulk of the responsibility for the emotional well-being of the love relationship, meaning you're carrying most of the load to keep this relationship going. So you are the one who's trying to initiate the conversations, repair the ruptures in the relationship, suggest going to therapy together, trying to regulate them when they get dysregulated and defensive and dismissive, trying to make sure that they're okay, walking on eggshells, keeping the peace, just doing a ton of work to try to keep things okay between the two of you. And on the flip side, your partner is probably under functioning, which means they're carrying too little of the responsibility to keep this relationship going. So over time, what happens is this becomes a very one-sided dynamic where the overfunctioning woman feels like she's basically doing everything to keep the relationship together. Her partner is basically doing nothing and also resisting her efforts to keep things together. And this is a surefire path to resentment and burnout and just an overall lack of respect for your partner.
This all resonates very
Oh,
much to me.
it reminds me right when I probably like a week after I got divorced, and I'm sitting in the living room, and I had a baby at the time, but she I think was sleeping.
Yeah.
And I thought, my God, I've been in a relationship by myself forever.
Exactly.
There's not really that much of a difference without him here, relationship wise. And it was
Exactly.
I mean, I didn't know what it was called, like,
Yeah.
Yeah, there wasn't a name for it yet, right?
yeah,
Yeah. Right.
I had no idea.
Yeah. And it's like you don't even realize the weight you're carrying until you can put it down because maybe you're not in that relationship anymore, or you've just decided you're going to change how you show up. And then you realize how heavy that was and how lonely it
Right.
was. And in fact, there's relief that comes when you can just keep functioning, but don't have the expectation that the other person's going to pull their weight and then be chronically disappointed when they don't.
You literally just answered the question I was going to.
I know. Stop
Yeah.
doing.
Fascinating. Now, what would you say the relationship is with overfunctioning and codependency?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think that there's a ton of overlap for sure. And I think I like the word overfunctioning because I think it captures codependency and then some, right? And it's a term that all I have to do is say overfunctioning, and women are like, yep, that's me. You don't even need to define it. I already intuitively know what you're talking about. I think codependency is a term that is rooted, historically, it came out of the world of addiction.
Yeah.
And it described the enabling dynamic in a relationship with an addict. And while it has been broadened since then to include relationship dynamics outside of the addict enabling, I think it still has that feel. And there's some sense of judgment or shame people can feel if they identify with that term. So I just think overfunctioning is a broader term that captures the codependent dynamics, but it also makes space for other factors that can contribute to overfunctioning. And I just find it to be a very helpful term.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I like it. I think so. A lot of our audience are people that have already gone through or are going through, but maybe on the back end of the divorce and really more into the co-parenting experience. And if you're sort of past the relationship where you're the high
Yeah.
functioning person, right? But
Yeah.
you're now entering into a new form of relationship. What would you say to someone that's going into that relationship? Like
Yeah.
how can you change when this dynamic is probably one of the reasons why your relationship
Yeah.
didn't work? And how can you manage that?
So many of us who are divorced, I hear from women all the time on Instagram, the dynamic doesn't change after you get divorced. And if you're co-parenting, then you have to deal with them. And so now you're trying to heal from them and deal with them at the same time, which is super not fun. So I think, especially when the kids are younger, you're still going to have to overfunction. That is the reality. You're going to still have to pick up the other parent's slack because chances are good they're not going to step up, right? They're going to continue that underfunctioning dynamic just like they did in the marriage. But here's what I tell women to consider is that the difference between overfunctioning and self-restoration, which is the healing journey that I talk about. When you are in a co-parenting situation, yes, you might still need to overfunction to ensure that your children are well taken care of and that your sanity is preserved as much as possible when dealing with your ex-partner. But your why is very different. And this is key. When you're overfunctioning, you're fueled by this anxiety of your partner not being okay. And you're doing a lot because you know that they're going to get dysregulated. They can't handle the conversations. They don't know what to do with your feelings or their feelings. So you go in and you compensate, and that's your why. That's why you're overfunctioning, right? It's fueled by fear at the end of the day. It's fueled by anxiety. It's fueled by insecurity. And none of that is said with judgment. It makes sense why that happens for you. But when we move into self-restoration and co-parenting, and we're still having to overfunction, we're doing it for a different reason. Now we're doing it because we want our children to be okay in spite of the circumstances. And we know that this is just what needs to happen in order for our kids to be okay. But we're doing it from a place of self-respect, right? We're not pandering to our partner. We're not catering to them. We're not bending over backwards for them. It's no longer about them. It's about our children. It's about us doing whatever we need to do to get through these really tough circumstances with as much ease as possible. And that's the difference. So knowing your why can be the difference between overfunctioning and self-restoration, because sometimes the behavior might still look the same, but the motivation is very different.
Yeah, very good point.
So another thing struck me as you were saying all of that is that there's another term that's been out in the world for the last couple of years, and it's weaponized incompetence. And so where is that in relation to the overfunctioning partner?
Yeah.
I have more questions, but I'll let you answer that.
Yeah, so weaponized incompetence is basically a term that is describing a person who is coming across as incompetent or unable to do something and using that to then engage you and get them to do it for them or just get you to pick up their slack. So it has this intention behind it, right? And absolutely, that can be a huge part of overfunctioning, because what happens here for the overfunctioning woman is she observes her partner's inability, lack of competence, unwillingness, whatever it is. And then she says, okay, let me bridge the gap.
Yeah.
If they're going to give 20%, let me give 80%. Right? And so weaponized incompetence can absolutely be a part of that. They come across as incompetent and she says, okay, let me be overly competent and do it for you or do it for us or make it better. Right?
You know where I see this a lot, or sort a little different, but when you're divorced, right? And then they get in a new relationship and then they're like doing all of these things that you've been begging them to do. And you're like, you could do, like, it's actually a pretty hurtful stage, I
It's
think.
horrible.
Because you're like, why couldn't you do that for me? Or like for our kids or whatever. And
Yeah.
that's really,
It's a huge form of betrayal.
yeah.
Because how much energy did you spend trying to explain to them how important this was to you or to the kids or to the family or the relationship? And they chose to ignore that.
Right.
because now we see it was a choice.
Right. That I think that's the hurtful part, right? It's
Yeah,
like, oh, I thought you couldn't do it,
yeah,
and now I know you can, and you just
Yeah.
didn't, and you
that's
chose
right.
not to. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's extraordinarily hurtful.
Yeah.
Absolutely, that weaponized incompetence can be a big part of this dynamic. And then when you see them choose to be competent elsewhere, a lot of women will say, I watch them go to work and be very competent.
Hmm.
They're able to lead people, manage people, take care of things, they're on top of their responsibilities, and then they come home and they don't do any of it.
Right.
And
Oh,
it's very confronting to realize that this is a choice that they are making. And our power is not in trying to get them to make a different choice, but in saying, okay, this is the choice you're making. Does that work for me?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
That's
making our
very
own
helpful.
choice about the choices they're making.
Yeah.
right.
So I noticed, and we talked a little bit about this. You really tend to focus. You focus on women, and I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say that the overfunctioning partner is typically women.
That's been my experience.
Do you have a thesis as to why?
I do. I think there's a couple of things going on. I will say every once in a while I do hear from men who say, "Hey, I totally identify as overfunctioning. My partner is underfunctioning," and I think that's very real. I don't think it's to the degree that we see with women. I really think this is an epidemic that women are dealing with.
Great.
I think that, women in general, as we all know, we are very primed and conditioned to be very relational, very nurturing. We love to take care of. It's just something that we're good at. And then overfunctioning is taking a really good thing to an extreme. And too much of a good thing is still too much, right? So I think we're primed to do this really, really well. But I think what's happened for our generation specifically, because I see this in women who are 40s and 50s, typically a little younger, a little older, but generally
Right.
40s and 50s. And I think what's happened is we are the women who were, first of all, raised by moms coming out of the women's movement. And we were really that first generation that was told we could do anything. We could be anything. We don't need a man. We don't need their money. We don't need their career. Like, we can do it. On one hand, that's amazing. I'm so glad I was raised with the messages that I could do and be whatever I wanted. I have created a very great life for myself, and I'm not dependent on another person to do that for me. But I think what also was happening at the same time is we were not empowering boys and men on the other side of the equation, which is, hey, you can be the family man, you can be emotional, you can prioritize your relationship, and let's teach you how to do that. You can do it all. You can crush it at work, and guess what? You can come home and crush it at home with your family. We were not saying that to boys. So now we have this huge gap in the generation where we've got women doing it all because we can, and we've got men not doing it all, and they're sitting back watching us. They're letting us.
Right.
And it has created a huge imbalance. And women are coming out of the woodwork saying, this is ridiculous. This is not okay. We deserve better from our male counterparts.
Yeah.
Right now, obviously, I'm speaking in gendered terms here. Not all men are that way. Not all women are this way. But this is a broad stroke of what I'm seeing for women of our generation. And I think it's great that we can do it all. We have to really check ourselves. Just because we can doesn't mean we should.
Yeah.
And I think we also need to make space for men to step up and to learn how to connect with their own emotions, their own inner world, so that they can also connect with ours and learn how to prioritize relationships in a healthy way, regulate their emotions. And when women and men can learn how to do that in a more balanced way, we're going to see more balanced relationships.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So in terms of breaking that, I don't want to say breaking the habit, but breaking that cycle,
Yeah.
how do you help? I'm going to say women just because that is the bulk of your client base. How do you help women overcome this cycle?
You mean like when going into a new relationship? Or just in general?
I want to say in general, because maybe there are women who are in a relationship and aren't ready to walk away, and so they can
Yeah.
give it a try. But yes, I think also in terms of if you have left the relationship, how do
Yeah.
you keep yourself from falling into the trap again?
Yeah. Yeah. And it's important to say you can heal if you're in the relationship with your underfunctioning partner, if you've left the relationship and you're single, if you're starting out in new relationships. The healing can happen in all of those, and it will happen in all of those in different ways, right? But I think the first thing is we have to really open our eyes to what we're doing. We have to become painfully aware. And I say painfully because it is humbling to realize that as infuriating as their underfunctioning is, and as obvious as it is as to how it's causing problems, the overfunctioning is causing problems too, right? And so we really have to humble ourselves and take an honest inventory of what we are doing to contribute to the cycle. Now, we're doing good things, but we're doing too much.
Right.
Right? We're loving too much. We're forgiving too much. We're accommodating too much. We're focusing on them too much. So the first thing we have to do is take an honest inventory of our own overfunctioning and become very aware of what we're doing. We have to really open our own eyes, wake up to our autopilot, because overfunctioning has become just what we do. It's our default. And so we do it with our eyes closed. We can do it in our sleep, right?
Right.
So we have to become very, very aware of how we overfunction. We overfunction physically by doing things for our partner that they really should be doing for themselves, packing their suitcase before a trip, picking up their dry cleaning, right? All of these things that they really can and should be doing for themselves. We can overfunction mentally, where we're keeping tabs on their schedule and their to-do lists and reminding them and all of that. We definitely overfunction emotionally, where we are trying to show up a certain way so that they will feel okay, so that they will feel emotionally regulated, so that they won't go into a temper tantrum, right? We can overfunction sexually, financially, spiritually. There's so many ways that we're doing more than our fair share.
Yes.
And we have to recognize that. And then we have to start stepping back. We have to do less.
Yeah.
That is so hard.
That is so
It
hard.
is so hard because it's asking you to take the risk of creating some space between them not doing it and you not doing it.
Right.
And then we hold our breath and we see what happens. What are they going to do? Are they going to step up? Or are they just going to fall down again?
Yeah.
And we don't really want to know the answer to that, because if they don't step up, we all know in our gut what that means. And when you've invested years or decades like I did, you have children together, you have an entire life together,
Yeah.
you want to do anything you possibly can to not face the reality that they might choose to not step up
Yes.
and pull their weight. And then what does that mean?
Incredibly painful. Right?
It's one of the worst things.
But it can also be incredibly instructive and eye-opening, and then right? Then that this person, are we in a partnership, or am I really the one dragging this dead relationship along for your convenience?
Right. Yeah, it's like, am I your partner or am I actually your parent?
Right. Yep.
Right.
Yep.
And yes, it is brutal to let that answer be revealed, but it's also the key to your freedom if they don't step up and you really let yourself confront that. You now have the power to decide if that works for you. You now have the power to say, this doesn't work for me. And Jill, like you were saying, you might decide to end the relationship and discover that, wow, life is actually a lot more peaceful, a lot easier when you're not dragging another adult along who's kicking and screaming and blaming you and telling you all the reasons why you're the problem. Your expectations are just too high. You're asking for too much. You're never happy, blah, blah, blah. All the nonsense that they tell us to try to convince us to stop having standards.
Right.
And we're too powerful for that.
And keep doing all the work.
That's right. Yeah.
Right.
So
How do you
how does someone who I'll throw myself out as the example. I've been single now for several years.
Mm-hmm.
The thought of a relationship still kind of terrifies me. And how do you is the awareness enough, or do you have to do more work to make sure that you don't put yourself in that position again?
Yeah, it's both. I always say to clients, awareness is half the battle.
Yeah.
right? Because once we become aware of something, what we've done is we've moved it out of our subconscious mind where it's in just autopilot mode, and we've moved it into our conscious mind where we now can decide, do I want to keep doing it that way or do I want to do something different? So awareness is half the battle, but then the other half is doing something different. And that's really hard at the beginning because everything in you is going to want to send you back into your comfort zone of action. It's going to say overfunctioning is what you know, so just do it. Overfunctioning will keep them happy. Overfunctioning will keep them around.
I think that's so true though, like especially like at the beginning of a relationship where you're like all like lovey-dovey, you know, all that bullshit. Um, and I feel like it's a
woman who's
natural
been married for several years.
right. But you know that bullshit. I feel like it's a natural, like you want to like, oh, I made you this or that. So that would be really hard to resist doing.
Really hard.
I'm there for it, but I'm just saying.
Really hard. Yep. And that actually is exactly what we need to do because part of the overfunctioning mentality is if I do more for them, they will do more for me. And ladies, that is not how the equation works.
Oh, my God. Yeah. That doesn't
And
work.
it often comes, if we get into a deeper psychology dive, it really folds into old abandonment wounds that we probably have. Most of us probably have some daddy wounds where we felt physically abandoned, emotionally abandoned, unseen. We had to work hard to get their attention or to feel their love. This isn't always the case, but more often than not, that's what's going on. And so we bring that psychology into the relationship and we just reenact it. Okay, I'll work really hard and I'll do for you, and then you'll think I'm good, and then you'll love me and stick around. That is not how a healthy relationship works. So yes, it's going to take everything in you to resist the urge to overdo it.
Right.
And what I like to remind women is your existence is their prize.
Right.
Oh, I love that.
Not what you're doing. And in fact, a healthy functioning partner does not want you doing for them because they're not looking for a parent.
Right.
They're looking for someone to enjoy life with. So your existence checks that box, right? If you're doing for them and orbiting around them, that's mothering, that's smothering. That's not what a healthy functioning partner wants. So if they're kind of seeking that, you want to run because that's not a healthy functioning partner.
Yeah.
And if you start to overdo it, a healthy functioning partner will lovingly and respectfully stop you and say, "Hey, I don't need you to do that for me." You're like, "Okay."
What am I gonna do?
But when you're first starting out and you're stepping back and you're not overdoing it, you're going to get really, really anxious. It's going to feel super uncomfortable and risky.
Yeah.
And your brain is going to want to tell you this is a surefire path to abandonment. But a healthy functioning partner will actually respect you more when you do less. Not less in an underfunctioning way, but less in just a balanced, grounded, centered, I respect myself way.
Really, the under-functioning partner seems kind of nice. That's what I want to be. No, I'm just kidding. You switch to under-functioning.
But you want to be balanced. You want to be balanced in your functioning. You do want to. So I want to be clear, doing things for your partner is wonderful. But you're doing it because you love them and you want to do it for them, not because they won't do it for themselves and because you're afraid that if you don't, all hell breaks loose. Again, back to the why.
Right.
And when you do for them, there's this overall equation of reciprocity. It's not tit for tat, but in general, you do loving, kind things for them out of the goodness of your heart. But guess what? They also do loving, kind things for you out of the goodness of their heart, and you receive it. So the overfunctioning woman is a terrible receiver.
Yeah.
Right? Because she swims around in guilt and low self-worth. And when a person, whether it's a partner, a friend, a community member, does try to do something for her and make her the center of attention momentarily, she freaks out.
Right.
She gets very uncomfortable with that. So part of the healing is also to learn how to sit back and let people do for you and take care of you and shower you with generosity. Right? And that's really uncomfortable at the beginning.
Yeah. I'm uncomfortable just talking about it.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's
I've
only
had to learn. Sorry, I've had to learn how to ask for help.
uncomfortable because it's unfamiliar.
Yeah.
So the more you do it, the more familiar it becomes. Sorry, Allie.
Well, that's okay. What I was going to say is Yeah, I've had to learn how to ask for help, right?
Yeah.
As a
Hmm.
single mom,
Yep.
right? There are moments where you to the bring it all home, you cannot do it all, right? And
Yeah.
so asking my ex-husband for help is really
Hmm.
difficult for me, but
Hmm.
I do it.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's asking my village for help. And you know
Absolutely.
what? No one has ever said no.
Right.
So,
No, and they like it.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's such a gift in a relationship to be asked
Yes.
to help, right? So think about when someone comes to you and says, "Hey, I could really use your help," and you love them. Like
Yeah.
it's such an honor to get to step up and do that for them.
Yeah.
So we are giving our loved ones a gift when we reach out and ask for help. It's showing trust, it's
Yeah.
showing vulnerability, and we have to remember that. It's not strength to go through life alone. And when we try to never ask for help, we can't then be disappointed when people aren't offering to show up, as in our underfunctioning partner. So
Right.
we do have to clean up our side of the street. We have to do less for people who aren't doing their fair share, and we have to receive when people are trying to show up for us and give to us.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Hmm.
If you're in a relationship and you're, recognizing that you are the over functioning
Hmm.
member of the relationship, and say you don't want to get divorced
Yeah.
or you're not at that point, like,
Hmm.
how do you approach, like, can you approach them about that? I mean, it's kind of
Sure.
hard. That's a hard conversation to say, like, you're under functioning.
Maybe not the way I would
It
word it.
doesn't go over well.
No, I wouldn't say.
It's usually not a super great conversation. You know, they're going to do their typical underfunctioning nonsense. They're going to tell you all the reasons why they're not,
Right.
and why you're wrong, and why your perception is distorted, and your memory is bad, and you're just asking for too much, and blah. I mean, it's so predictable what they're going to do with that. You certainly can try to have the conversation with them, but you're probably going to feel like you're banging your head against a brick wall. You've probably tried in many different ways. The
Right.
overfunctioning woman has communicated until she's blue in the face, right? You've tried to say it every possible way 100 times over. So what I recommend is just start stepping back.
Hmm.
You don't even have to have a conversation about it, because the conversation is where they're just going to push back. It's just
Right.
another opportunity, another stage for them to underfunction. So just start doing your thing, step back. And this is a process. For me, this was years.
Hmm.
You know, I didn't just wake up and like, oh, wow, I'm an overfunctioning woman, I'm just going to start stepping back. That's not how it worked.
Right. That would be
And
nice, actually.
wouldn't that be nice? So for quite a while, I observed myself without any pressure to do
Mhm.
anything differently. I just let my nervous system get used to the awareness that, holy cow, I am contributing to this dysfunctional dynamic.
Right.
Okay, that's a little humbling. And then I got clear on how I was overfunctioning. And then I started to step back, but in really small ways, so that my nervous system didn't freak out. So I would step back in ways where I would let something fall through the cracks that wasn't going to hurt me or our child.
Right.
I would let them forget something. It was no big deal.
Right.
But I let my nervous system kind of get used to what it was like to not remind them, and
Hmm.
let them suffer the natural consequences.
Hmm.
Right. And then they get a little mad, and I'm like, okay, I can handle this.
Mhm.
Right.
And then I would step back a little bit more, and the stakes would get a little bit higher and a little bit higher, until
Hmm.
eventually I was stepping back in the big ways, and the big tantrums were happening, and I was grounded and I was clear. And I'm like, look, this is what's happening. This is not
Hmm.
okay with me. You can kick and scream and blame me and defend and do all your nonsense, but I'm not falling for it. So every time I stepped back in really small ways, I got stronger and clearer. And
Hmm.
then I was stepping back in the big ways and really calling them out on their nonsense, which did not go over well.
Hmm.
But it allowed me to see what they were choosing to do when given the
Yeah.
opportunity and the space to step up. They chose not to.
Right.
And that was what I needed to know. And then
Mhm.
I gave myself a lot more time to really sit with the reality of what I knew I needed to do.
Right.
Right. So we've got to give ourselves time to sit with the ideas. There's
Yeah.
so much emphasis on you need to do something, go change your behavior.
Right.
But there's value in letting ourselves sit with the idea for a while, because that's where we get more comfortable with it. And then we are able to act on it. And there was a day where I was like, that's it. I'm done. We had one stupid fight about one stupid thing. And it was just the straw that broke the camel's back. But it was because I had nurtured that strength and clarity in me over years of stepping back. And then I was like, okay, I can do this.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
What if, I mean, this won't happen really for women, but maybe pretend. Like, what if you recognize that you're the under-functioning partner? Like, what do you do then? I mean, I can't see it happening for women, but I mean, I guess it could happen
You
for
know, I'm sure there are women out there. It's a similar process. It's about recognizing like where are you under functioning? Where are you not pulling your weight and humbling yourself to say like, okay, that's not acceptable. I have chosen to get into a relationship, so I need to do my part.
Right.
You know, you don't accept a job and accept the paycheck and then not do the work. That's not how the world works.
Right.
So, you know, you've got to take accountability and responsibility for your lack of effort and participation and then go learn the skills. Women, overfunctioning women, are very good at communicating their feelings and knowing what's going on for them. A lot of underfunctioning partners, especially if they're men, they're not as adept at that. We don't acculturate men to talk about feelings or know what's going on inside of them, but they need to go learn. The resources are out there. And it's time you go learn. And just because this has always been considered a female thing does not mean it's a female thing,
Right.
right? Go learn what you're feeling, what your partner's feeling, learn how to talk about it, learn how to regulate yourself rather than barf your dysfunction all over your partner, and take accountability for yourself. If you want to be in a relationship, then do the work.
I love this, and it's like perfect timing then for me to ask this question. I've been thinking about this a lot, Jill. I mentioned this the other night. We're moms of, we happen to be moms of girls, right? And I think that
Me
there
too.
is, to your earlier point about you can do anything, right? There's a socialization and a teaching of your daughters about what they can expect and what they can do, right? You can do anything, yes, but not all at once.
Yep.
Right.
But also, you know, to your point about how we raise our boys, right?
Yeah.
What do we need to be, you know, I think we know what we need to tell girls, but what do parents of boys, if we can break this cycle and the next generation of kids who are growing up right now, like what are the things that, what are the tools you need to give your boys so that they can be prepared to come into a relationship as they're an adult and not be under functioning?
It's a great question. I will say that a lot of the underfunctioning partners, underfunctioning men, not all underfunctioning partners are men, but the ones who are men typically come from a childhood background where they were coddled in some way by their mom. So as a mom of a boy today, don't coddle them. And I don't mean just physically in terms of doing their laundry for them or, you know, whatever, those kinds of things, but don't coddle them emotionally. Have some standards for how they need to show up, how they treat you, how they treat others, how they talk to you, how they sit down and figure out what's going on inside of them and put words to it and talk about it. And take responsibility for their emotions. You know, so often we write off quote unquote bad behavior as, oh, that's just boys being boys. You know how boys are. Boys are just, they have more energy. They're more aggressive. Well, these are the boys that are growing up and who are not using their words to talk about their feelings and instead are being aggressive. And that's not okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Right? We also have some underfunctioning partners who are the nice guys, super passive, go with the flow, have no opinion, don't direct, don't lead in healthy ways, and then build all this resentment and then lash out or go behind your back and betray you. That's not okay either. So we have to teach boys how to be emotionally intelligent and emotionally mature, which means knowing what they're feeling, knowing how to talk about it, and knowing how to stay regulated when they get triggered or activated or upset, right? Because these are going to be the boys who then know how to go into a relationship and talk about their feelings, talk about what's going on for them. But also, when they can talk about their own feelings, then they can also sit and talk with you about yours. Because our partner can only give us what they can first give themselves.
Right.
So they have to have emotional intelligence within themselves to be able to offer us, their partner, emotional intelligence. Right?
Yeah.
That's so, yeah.
Yeah. And I think for the girls, one of the most important things I teach my daughter is you are not responsible for other people's feelings and choices.
Yes. Yes.
Because she's a little sponge like I was, just
Yep.
soaking it all up, feeling bad, feeling guilty, feeling responsible. And I'm like, no, we are not doing that because I know where that's going to take you down the road.
Yeah.
So we do a lot of work around so and so's saying this, doing this, feeling this, telling you this. That's okay that's maybe what they're feeling, but that's not your responsibility, especially when it's an important adult in her life. She's the child.
Right.
We're not doing a role reversal where she's going to take care of them. So we do a lot of work around that. And I do a lot of education around how it should go, how the interaction should be, what would a healthy adult say versus what is actually being said, so that she starts to have a template for what it should look like versus what she's getting right then.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's one of the hard parts is like when you're going through that too, like you are modeling that, whatever it is, the healthy or the
That's right.
unhealthy relationship for your kids.
That's
And
right.
that a lot of times helps women to make the decision to leave or to change that behavior because they don't want that for their daughters
Right.
or their sons. But
I remember asking myself towards the very end of the marriage, like, if my daughter were in this relationship dynamic, how would I feel about that?
right.
Yeah.
And the pit I got in my stomach was everything I needed to know. And I'm like, okay, then I have to be brave and show her another way. I've done everything I know how to do to give this relationship a chance at becoming healthy, but I'm only half of the equation.
Yes.
So I'm going to cut my losses and I'm going to spend the next 10 years of her life showing her, or the second half of her childhood, showing her what a healthy, functioning mom looks like.
Yes. Wow.
Yeah.
This is incredible what you're doing.
Thank you.
I want to commend you and thank you, because we need voices like yours at the table to be able
Thank
to
you.
help the women who are in this position now. And again, like I said, looking at the next generation.
Yeah.
How
Yeah.
we can break the cycle.
Yeah.
Any other questions for you, Jill?
I don't think so. I think we talked about everything. It's a very important topic, so thank you so much.
Yeah.
I mean, literally, we were at an event earlier this week, and I was talking about how we're having you on and talking about overfunctioning. Every single woman that I was talking to, which was a room full of women, was like, "Oh my God, yes, yes."
Right?
I mean, it is like
It is an epidemic.
it is an epidemic.
Yeah.
It 100% is. Like,
Yeah.
there's
Yeah. And there's tens of thousands of women online reading my content saying, oh my God, that's me, that's me, that's me, just constantly. I mean, the comment section is just flooded with women who understand this. And, the pain is that so many women are sitting in these one-sided relationships questioning their self-worth
right.
because they've been told by these emotionally immature, under-functioning partners that they're the problem.
Right.
Right? Because it's the only way these people know how to deflect away any accountability.
Right. And I think one of the biggest maybe statistics you could take is like 70% of divorces are initiated by women. Now.
Yeah.
And
You
because
see why?
starting to not accept it. I mean, it's
Yes.
It's unacceptable and it's not a relationship.
right.
I got into a relationship because I thought doing life with someone would make it more enjoyable and easier in some ways, and certainly a lot more fun. And I found myself in the opposite situation.
Right.
Why would we want that? Right?
Yes, and I think not to align myself with any labels, but I think that there's a conversation going on in our sort of larger society, and I'm reading in the media about women who are choosing to be single because they're just not willing.
It's a movement. Yeah.
Sorry.
It's a movement.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because they're just not willing to let themselves get into another situation with
That's
a
right.
partner who's not going to be a partner, a true
Yeah,
partner.
that's right. And women are banding together. I'm reading more and more articles about single moms who are living together and raising their kids together, or buying houses in the same neighborhood and doing life together. Women have had enough of this one-sided nonsense, and we are reconnecting with our power. We are waking up to this dynamic. And, I'm just here to put some words to it, because once you understand what's going on inside of your relationship, you have the power to do something different if you want. And that's amazing. And what I love about my Instagram community is it's bringing all these women together who then lift each other up and support each other. And yeah, we're going to go through really hard things in life, and confronting our relationship may be one of them, but we don't have to go through those hard things alone. Yeah. And when women come together, look out.
Right?
Look out.
That's what I was
Underfunctioning partners don't stand a chance when we come together.
Men in general really don't stand a chance. Over or under functioning.
That's right. That's
so
right.
Ashley, you mentioned your Instagram. Where can people find you?
My handle is at Dr. Ashley Southard. So hop on there. I post regularly. You could binge for a very long time on my content. I'm very active in my stories. I rally the community to share things and support each other. I've got some fun stuff coming up later this year, so stay tuned for that. And I have a series of master classes that are on demand. So if there are specific aspects of overfunctioning where you really want a deeper dive, I have those. I've been a university instructor.
All of those links in our show notes.
Yes.
Sure.
I love to teach. It's one of my favorite things to do. So these classes are a great place for that. And I just want to help women remember that they don't have to put up with this, and that they are far more powerful than their underfunctioning partner has led them to believe they are.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for your time today. We're really excited to share this with our community, and
same.
Look forward to, maybe having you back again.
I would love that. Anytime. You let me know.
Thank you.
Okay. Thanks so much.
Oh my God.
I love her.
I love her too. She needs to come back. I have a feeling there's more to discuss with her. It's like, I know so many women who are
like almost all.
Well, yeah, because it's a generation of us being told we can do it all. Right. And we're trying really hard to do it all. But the fact of the matter is, like, I joked, my kids are on school vacation this week, and I joked that I'm only doing one job this week because I'm just doing the work job. I'm not doing the mom job.
Right.
But I feel like, or I'll say, like, leaving work, all right, I'm going to go home to do my second job, because that's really, it is another job. And I'll still, even in a situation where I'm divorced, I share custody of my children, I still feel like I make sure the doctor's appointments happen.
Well, that's what I was going to say. It's like all of the pieces. It's not just where they sleep at night, where their heads are. It's all of the little pieces. And that stuff is a lot.
It's a lot, but, back to the conversation, I think we talked about this in the recorded part, but, like, you have to decide where you want to let them potentially fail.
Right.
And what is the impact on your kid, right? So
always such a hard balance, I think.
But I have learned to let go of a lot of things that just are if the kid comes back to me to say that something wasn't good or they were disappointed, like, that's another situation that they need to experience, frankly, and I can help them process.
Right.
It's not fun, but you can't come in with your cape all the time and save the day.
Yeah. Yeah, it has to be about, like, you got to pick your battles, pick your where it's important and where it isn't, and sometimes it happens.
Well, and truthfully, once you're divorced, I think that you have to learn to let go of certain things that are just not important, even though it's not the way you would have done them.
Or it's important to you and it's not important to them, and it sometimes it's like you don't have control over it, and that is really hard.
Yeah.
Very, very hard. But you do have control over your time, which is nice.
I do have control over my time, yeah, and that's the other hard thing is if you're a parent like you who has majority custody, right? Mm-hmm. That has to be hard too, because it almost feels like if you're doing all the work, but you have to share the decision making, that's got to be tricky.
Yeah, I mean, I think it depends on the relationship. In my scenario, I basically just say what the decision is and kind of get a like head nod. But there very little conflict on any of the decisions because usually, especially if it's a like day-to-day decisions, I don't even talk about because it is what it is.
Yeah, at a certain point, if she's with you, you've got to make like
Right.
you're making the decision.
Like if she's staying home sick, I'm not texting to
Yeah, of course not.
like but bigger decisions, I'll say, this is the decision I want to make. Here's why. And we're pretty aligned
Yeah.
on those things so far. I mean, it's been almost 10 years now. Crazy. And very rarely do we conflict on those type of bigger things. So I will take that as a win. But yeah, I mean, it's not easy. And I think this episode has sort of definitely triggered some feelings for me. Definitely recognizing things from my past, maybe things I've not dealt with that have cropped up now too. It's hard when you like get a name to something and you're like, oh yeah. And recognizing that you're contributing to it, which I think was a really important part that Ashley shared is like, it's not all that you're just like over functioning and, maybe to me like, oh, a martyr even. That it's, a piece of the puzzle is your own crap.
Yes. And I mean, we're always evolving, right?
Yes.
So, I feel like you peel back a layer and it just reveals a new one of,
Well, I mean, I agree. I think that's true. We are always evolving. I don't think everyone's always evolving though. And that's right. Or just ignore it. You could ignore it.
Well, and I think especially if you're in a situation where you are the under-functioning partner, like,
right.
Why would you complain? You're winning. Everything's great.
You're having the best under-functioning life. But like, I don't know that would make. I don't think like if I was the under-functioning partner, I don't think that would make me happy.
I think it's important to for them to understand what the impact is on you, right, and your family. If you are in the relationship that's, if you're listening to this now and you just went through that whole coffee date and you were like, oh shit, this is me. I can't believe, like that aha moment.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, maybe not the best thing to like walk into your living room and tell your partner, like, by the way, I'm over functioning, you're under functioning, and this needs to stop now, right? Like you've got to find out, and maybe it is with a couples counselor, or maybe it's, finding a way to approach it that's collaborative towards your future. Maybe. I'm not an expert here. That's maybe an episode for Ashley.
Ashley seems to know. I mean, I thought her suggestions too of like, letting smaller things go and see how that goes was really an interesting and good idea.
Yeah, sort of like let them, like the Mel Robbins, let them, like, you're gonna have to let them fall on their face, and it's like where are their opportunities for that where the consequence on your kid is minimal, right?
So interesting episode. We lost her.
Oh my gosh, she's amazing.
Yeah.
Would have her back anytime. Should we get to our next segment?
Let's do Am I the Asshole? Because it's a good one.
Okay, so this is, am I the asshole for reminding my ex I'm only responsible for our children and not all of his kids? Okay, so let's see if we can keep this straight. My ex was treating me more like his mom and expecting me to pick him up from their houses when they needed to get on with stuff. He fought for 50% custody of our kids, which he wasn't given. And for the first 2 or 3 years, he had every other weekend and a 2-week period during the summer with them, as well as alternating holidays. He started being more involved, and eventually he did get 50-50 custody. It was at that time I found out he got some woman pregnant, and he realized with 3 kids, he needed to get his act together. He ended up with full custody of his 3rd child. Then he met his wife. They have 2 more children together now. There are 2 kids in her life, but I don't believe they're her biological children anyway, who she is also partially supporting. Those 2 kids don't live with them, but apparently she or, they pay for stuff for this child. The ex and I started getting along better, but then his marriage got rocky. As his marriage worsened, he started treating me like a co-parent to all of his kids. He'd bring his other children to custody exchanges and expecting interactions between me and his other children. Then it was requests to babysit for him and his wife, which I never did. Then it was comments about our boys old clothes at my house being sent to his house for the other kids, and how we needed to make sure they had adequate clothing. I guess mean like giving the clothes that they've outgrown to these other kids. I told him there was no we in that, and he said, of course there is. We're co-parents. I said, of our two, sure, but not his other kids. It was requests for me to have his children in my home or to take them out to eat with me and our kids. And finally, it has turned into back to school craziness. I bought supplies for the boys, and he told me I hadn't bought nearly enough for everyone. I was like, hold up. What's that supposed to mean? And he pointed out that what I bought wouldn't be possible to share evenly between all 5 children. I told him we don't have 5 children, we have 2. The 2 I bought those for. I told him I'm responsible for our children, not his 3 others. I told him he has a wife, they share 2 of those children, but the other is in their home, so it's up to them. He told me that I know they don't have a lot of money, and I cut him off and told him that still didn't make his children my problem. He said I can't possibly take care of just 2 of them, not when we're co-parenting, and all 5 kids live together 50% of the time. He said I should be a part of the community to help raise these kids, and keeping my distance like I do is so dang cold. Am I the asshole?
Wow. What? Like, the expectations here are, like, crazy.
Sir, the audacity of you.
No, okay, so just being who I am. I will say, like, if he brings the other kids to exchanges or whatever, it's not like you have to be mean to them or things like that. And I'm not saying she's being mean to them or anything. Like, sometimes you got to bring everybody because, the other one's not home.
Well, yeah, I mean, like having them present is fine, and I'd be curious to know like what his expectation is then. Like,
yeah,
I'm sure I would say hi to like to the kids or whatever. Saying hi is fine, but I'm not sure what his expectation is there. But I am sort of like, excuse me, sir, like you expect this woman who is the mother of 2 of your children to support all of your children. Like, that's not how that works.
No, it doesn't even really make sense.
No, and I would, honestly, like, if he keeps pushing, I might even say, you know what? Why don't you bring it to a judge?
Right.
Ask a judge what they think my responsibility is, because I can guarantee you. And first of all, he won't do it. No. Second of all, no judge would hold this woman responsible
for her ex-husband's other children. Like,
he fathered after their, like, it's not even like a situation where like they were kids he brought to the relationship that they may have like, again, still not her responsibility, but like I could see where the thinking maybe could creep in that way, but the sense of entitlement here is
it sounds like he has a very skewed definition of what co-parenting is.
Well, yeah, it's whatever suits him, I think.
Right.
I mean, and
it's like, that's not co-parenting. That's like, what? Like, doesn't make sense.
Yeah. And like, he should consider maybe not having more kids. Just a thought there, because he already, he had 2, and then he went and made 3 more. And
it's a lot.
Like, these are responsibilities of yours. And so, if he is not able to support them, then maybe he needs to figure out a new way to do that.
Mm-hmm.
I remember being in a courtroom when I was getting divorced, and the judge was pretty brutal but brutally honest, to be like, you don't have enough money? Like, go get another job. Like, find a way to take care of your kids. I think that this topic of underfunctioning partner, like, this is another piece of it where you've seen it, Jill, in our group, how many successful,
oh my God, yeah,
smart, hardworking women are absolutely being taken advantage of by.
And this is what I see
in ex-partners.
I know that this is like really biased, and I know I've said this before too, but like when I see women who are successful in their careers, I don't often see it's because, or a piece of their success is because their husband like held down the fort. When I see men being successful in their careers, it's because the women in their life have been doing everything else.
Yes.
And that's the big difference. And that's where I like struggle with women having to pay child support or having to pay alimony, because you didn't. Typically, actually, not only I get heated because I start talking with my hands here. Not only did you not like hold up, world so that she could take over the world, although she already did. You actually made it harder for her and she still did it.
In
But
spite
I
of
mean, I
you,
understand that
yes.
in the court, you can't, that's a hard thing to prove, I would think. But from what I've seen and I know a ton of successful women, I know a ton of women that pay child support or alimony, and that's fine. I understand, like, if we want to have a fair society, like, it's a financial calculation. I get that. There is a difference though, and that's the hard part.
That is the hard part. And I think that a couple of things. So I think two things. I think that the women who are successful and have partners who help them make it, like, they're not getting divorced.
Right. Oh my God. Why are you so smart?
Well, I don't know.
I never even thought of that.
They're
Like,
not,
of course
I
they're
mean,
not.
maybe they are, but like I would say for the most part, like there are men out there who pull their weight, who contribute, who are good partners, and those couples probably are. I mean, every couple has their issues, but like
Yeah.
they're not having this discussion. And I forgot my second thing. It'll come back.
You're right, though. That's a good point. They're not getting divorced because they're supporting each other. And
The other thing, you had me going on the child support thing. We're still making what, 80 cents on the dollar compared to a man.
Right.
So not only now do we have to claw our way to get our careers successful, to find our way to success, but now we're having to pay them even though we're making 80% of what they.
Yeah, where's that on the calculation sheet, actually?
I have a lot of issues with the way the court system calculates them, and obviously it's I've not been a beneficiary, so that's part of it. But I think that, it's really hard because when you are, and I've been thinking about this a lot, when you are separating your life from your partner, you are disentangling basically it's illegal disentanglement, right? You're separating your assets. It doesn't factor in, I don't know, working two jobs to support yourselves through your partner getting their PhD,
Right.
or
Or working and taking on the full load of child care and stuff.
trying to go back
While
to
you're
school while
working.
your kids are home with you full time. Like,
Right.
none of that gets factored in there. It doesn't matter. And I think that's the part that's really hard for people when they're going through the divorce. It's like, well, this person did all these terrible things, and I'm trying to get out, and you're telling me that, like, I have to pay them money too, or they're going to get half of my retirement, or,
You know when I see this too?
I have to pay them alimony.
Right. When the husband cheats, and then that has got to be like so hard, right? I mean, and we could have a million episodes about this, but the husband cheats, they're getting divorced, and then she has to pay him. I guess it could actually go either way. Like the woman cheats, the man has to pay her child support. That has got to be so hard because you're like pissed, like you're hurt, you're betrayed, and then you have to pay this person. Hard. These are just hard situations. And I mean, I think at least in the calculation, I mean, the thing I love and hate about numbers or accounting or finance is it's like very black and white, but like what divorce, what family is black and white? That's the problem. Like there's no easy way to calculate all of these nuanced things that are a part of almost every family.
So I'm a huge fan of Maya Angelou, so much that I even have some of her words tattooed on my body. I want us to end with this. It's
okay.
So she says, do the best you can until you know better. Then when you know better, do better. So, I think that for some of us, unfortunately, the way that things are right now, you're going to have to, eventually decide what the cost is of your freedom. And that may mean having to pay money to someone who's not held up their end in the bargain. But that's why you're getting divorced.
Right.
So, or why you got divorced.
Right.
So, yeah, if you know better, you learn from it and you do better.
Yep. That's all I can
That's all
do.
you can do.
Bye.
This was so much fun.
It was.
See you next time.
Episode.
Thanks for joining us for Co-Parenting and Coffee. This podcast is provided for informational purposes only and should not be construed as legal advice on any subject matter. If you liked our podcast, feel free to drop us a review. We'd appreciate it. Looking forward to seeing you next time for a cup of coffee and a chat with another expert on co-parenting.